Battle Scars, we're going to talk about how women have a lot on their plate, how women go through so much. I mean, all women, the worst of the worst women and the best of the best women. But nevertheless, all women have things on their plate and they go through a lot. Wounded women, women that don't even realize that they carry trauma, wounds, abuse, pain for centuries. Welcome to Campfire Talk, the podcast. I am your host on this podcast. I am the skipper. And to the right of me is my main man, my apple scrapple, my day one, Elefante. Elefante, the vet for me, kick for me, a million names, but we're going to call him Elefante on this here program. Today we're going to talk about battle scars. This one, I had a conversation with somebody last weekend. Somebody that I really look up to still till today. Most of y'all may know him as Monster, but I'm gonna call him Larry J, because he's changing. Slow process, but nevertheless, his process, you know what I mean? So, battle scars, we're gonna talk about how women have a lot on their plate, how women go through so much. I mean, all women, the worst of the worst women and the best of the best women. But nevertheless, all women have things on their plate and they go through a lot. Wounded women, women that don't even realize that they carry trauma, wounds, abuse, pain for centuries. I mean, and then, raising kids on their own, and for the most part, because even though a father can have some sort of visitation, or they may kick out funds for their kids, nevertheless, the woman has to raise the children in their home every day by themselves. So the women basically deal with the children outside of school 24 hours a day, basically. The man may deal with them sporadically, weekends or every 2 weeks or however it goes. Sometimes you go through the judicial system to make visitation rights and stuff like that. So you can kick it off. Go for that. I'll build from there.
Hand off. Yeah. My man said, battle scars, wounded women / scorned, however. Put scorn in there too, you think?
Right.
Okay. Because of that, what my man just said, absentee of the fathers, like you said, it goes from way back, from generations ago.
Right.
Like when the fathers, and sometimes the father being absentee is not his choice, especially way back in the days when fathers used to have to go out to fight in the war, to leave the women to fend for themselves, to raise the children. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's part of where the wounded and the battle scars come from, the father being absentee because of that. But what about the fathers being absentee when they are in the home?
Yes.
Bumps on the law, and the woman that's when she really becomes scarred and wounded, because she's looking at this guy like this piece of mother lover, he don't do nothing.
Right.
And you live in there, you're absent, you're not even really, you come home from work, or you didn't even come home from work, come home from wherever you're from, not partaking in raising your children, you just there. Women become scorned because of that. You know what I'm saying? They get into a point where it's like, he here, I don't even need him.
Right.
And then time go on, I don't even need no man, period.
Right. And that's how women are. That's their mentality today. Like, I don't need no man. They got that aggressive attitude, more testosterone-ish attitude, whereas that the men deal with more estrogen now. Yep. So the roles has reversed. You know what I mean? And going back to we deal with science, deal with mathematics and stuff like that. So, we're going to build off of how things could have traveled for so long throughout genes. Like when you deal with wars and stuff like that, when you go back to that part that you brought up. When, just say, it was 3 major wars that probably defined the family. You know what I mean? Today.
I got you.
3 major wars, but we're going to go to the Jim Crow, not the Jim Crow, the Willie Lynch letter. The Willie Lynch, the Willie Lynch
Lynch
letter.
in that era.
And if people understand the Willie Lynch letter, just basically it's like the slave owners, the dude came on the shores and told people, you know what I mean, like, yo, I can have you have slaves for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, or what have you. If you listen to my program, you can, you know what I mean, basically build off of your slavery, and you can be plentiful off of your product. You know what I'm saying? Because of free labor. So what they did was they tarred and feathered men, tied them limb to limb on horses, ripped them apart, hung them, castrated them, decapitated them, did whatever they had to do to break the woman down, put fear in the woman. Now the woman naturally goes into protecting the boy, protecting the little boy. So now the slave owner whoop the women, do the same thing to the women, and then, you know, leave some of them half dead to the point where, you know, they feel as though they really got to protect their sons, more their sons than their daughters, because it wasn't like they was really, the slave owners really, you know, had sex relationships with the daughters or the mothers and stuff like that. So now you go into the Civil War. You know, men went off to the war, you know, left women to fend for themselves, and a lot of time with them civil wars, a lot of men didn't make it home. So now women have to raise their children by themselves and stuff like that, right? That's one war. Then you go into the First World War or the Second World War, whatever one you want to go into. Men went to war, they dealt with the drafting, pulled men out their houses and stuff like that. Now you left women to fend for themselves. So women had to work in the mills, had to work in, you know, warehouses or the fields or whatever they had to do to keep things going for the men. So that's where the civil rights movement and all that stuff come into play. So women started dealing with more independence. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Contrary to popular demand, white women and black women was together on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the third war and the one that was the death blow was Vietnam War. Vietnam War is when they, you know, took the men went drafted, went into war, went over to Vietnam, started messing around with the dope. Now you come back home, straight dope fiends, you don't want to deal with your family. Some men never wanted to make it back home, stayed away from their family. You know what I'm saying? So now women had to deal with all of that pain throughout all of those years to raise kids. Now here it is, fast forward, it's almost like it's fashionable for women to raise their kids by themselves and fathers be effortless or be almost absent. Bill, son.
I want to piggyback. I'm going to take it back to you just brought up the Willie Lynch, you know,
Right.
paying for the book, whatever.
Right.
I just want to talk about Jamestown, Virginia. That's
Right.
when he bought all
Right,
the
right,
homes,
right.
you know what I'm saying,
Sure,
things of that
sure.
nature. And
Yeah.
also when you were talking about how they used to hang the men and make the women watch.
Right.
The women used to be pregnant sometimes too because they wanted the women to be pregnant at this time because that would put
Right.
fear in the
Yeah,
baby
yes,
as well.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then the
Right.
daughters, look how they did this. And they had their daughters watching all as well.
Right.
Now the daughters looking like the baby girls probably, that's instilled in them now
Right.
too.
Right.
Now, and to, when it was emasculating the man, the woman probably thinking like, when the man came after that happened, I don't even need no man. He's emasculated.
Right.
He's weak. I don't need him.
Right.
Way back then. But anyway, I just wanted to just dissect.
Yeah,
on that
you
real
can
quick.
go
That's all
deeper
it was.
into it.
You know what I'm
really
saying?
give them basis, right.
And that's genetics. You know what I
Right.
mean? Genetics don't have to be all the time through physicality. Not
Right. You don't always have to look like your parent.
No, but I'm
and
saying
all
that
that.
there's
Right.
you know.
Yeah, genetics travel through
Yeah,
travel through the blood cells too.
Yeah,
Just as-
anyway.
I mean, if you could take on a person physically, how you can't take on a person mentally?
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like they go hand in hand.
Yes.
It's impossible for you to take on a person's trait. I mean, I'm sure you heard your mother say, or you heard somebody's mother or whatever say, just like your father.
That goes back to
You know what I'm saying?
And you know what? I'm glad you picked up on that. That's part of the woundedness.
Right.
And when women be wounded because they've been so without their children's father or their own father.
Right.
As well.
Right.
Now they're looking at their kids. The battle scars kick in. They beating their kids to a pulp because of when they beating them, they thinking about old boy.
Yeah.
Like just
But
like
that-
the father
but that-
said though,
right,
you know what I mean? You
right.
know what I mean?
That
That's
gives-
some wounded stuff right there. That's
Right,
hurting.
right.
She's hurting. Whether you know, and like I was telling my man earlier, like, you know, they're hurting because they might hate the father or they might love him as well too.
Right.
You can't have him because they love him so much. He's over here with his other family.
Right.
And that's something
that we talked about the other day.
You understand?
Back in the 50s.
Yo, no, I didn't even
back in the
laugh.
60s and 50s.
Go ahead,
man.
man.
You
Talk
sit
about
there,
that
you
one.
eat a
Go
good
ahead.
meal. The family sit down. There's 18 people at the table back then. You know what I mean? The father sitting there, ate a good meal and stuff. You know, he already plotting and scheming, how the fuck I'm gonna get out this house. You know what I mean? The woman thinking it's all good, but she's stressful, tired, just wearing her little dirty ass nightgown, cooking all day. You know what I'm saying? Hair wrapped up, not really looking as
She may be
sexy
looking
as she
asexual,
did,
yeah, asexual,
as she
yeah.
did when he first met her.
Yes.
But nevertheless, you know, she's still that woman. You know what I mean? But you done gave her 18 children. You know what I mean? So now what he does is he find a way, go to the store and get a pack of smokes. I'll be back. Go and never come back. But now, you know, back then in those times, 3 or 4 towns had one supermarket in the middle of all of those towns. So you might have had the Piggly Wiggly or something like that, and the kids might be at the store or something, and then they might see their father and run back home and say, "Ma, I seen Pa. Where you seen him at? I seen him at the store," but he only 1 county over, not even 10 minutes away. You know what I'm saying? But they don't have cars to be able to ride around and see him. You know what I mean? So I mean, that's just like a little synopsis or whatever you want to call it of that. But we're going to dig deeper into like why is it almost fashionable for men to be almost weak when it comes to being more inserted when it comes to being the father to their children. You know what I mean? Like, you know, men, you have some men get mad at the woman because they're no longer with the woman. You know what I mean? So now that becomes a problem. That there's always reasons and excuses for men. Not all men now, you know what I mean? Because, you know, I'm a man just like all the other men. But at the end of the day, it's men that really don't stand on all 10 toes when it comes to dealing with their children. Thinking that the monetary aspect means a lot. Sometimes you can extract that money and just be physically there for the child. You can go bring the kid to school if you're not working, pick the kid up. You know, a lot of dudes be in the streets or what have you. So, you know, put more time into dealing with your kids. You know what I mean? Like, stop just trying to get the girl car and drive around and do bullshit and then bring her car back on E, or the motherfucking brakes squeaking or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, do the right thing when it comes to these women and how you deal with their children or your children. You know, men don't focus. A lot of men don't focus like how they should when it comes to dealing with their children, period. And they be behind different issues. Men be scarred too, wounded too. Some men choose a woman that might, in the eyes of the street, might be a woman that belonged to the street. She may not be shit, but you chose her nevertheless. Now, you done had kids by her, but she might have had 2 or 3 kids by somebody else prior. I mean, you have to give a situation a chance to see if it can change. But as long as you're not giving a woman, you know what I mean, that information that she needs to know that she means something to you, of course she might belong to the streets. Of course she might go to that, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But go ahead, say that.
But yeah, that goes back to the woman also. Like, you know, the woman been so, you know, scarred and wounded for so long, and feel as though they can take carry the weight of a man,
Right.
you know, man, that they're also missing out when they do come across a good fella.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
they might get the guy a shot, but I don't need you no more.
Right.
They're not even doing an evaluation like you just said about the men.
Right.
Dealing with a woman of the street, she might have had 2 kids, probably you knew that going in there.
Right.
But you chose not to deal with it because of that. But just like the wounded women, we understand that y'all had to play the parts of both parents because you had, you know, men or boys that you came in contact with,
Right.
and they were absent. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the reason was, there's no excuse for them being absent. They just shell of a men.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But therefore, don't give up. You know what I'm saying? Things will turn out best for you. Just give it a shot. Just because you've been wounded and scarred because of that happened, don't miss out on the opportunity if it comes. Just be, you know, psychically, you know, what's wrong with psychologically aware. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just don't dish out everything because you letting your wounded and your scars get in the way of things that transpired in your life. You know what I'm saying? That led you to be wounded because of the burdens that you had to endure with being a man of the house, not physically, but you know what I'm saying?
But that's what makes
Children.
women the way they are.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
makes them bitter. But it passes on from generation to generation.
Give to the
because
children.
Now you had, back in the 80s, you had mothers that still dealt with the old school 70s, 60s way of living. But then in the 80s, going into the 90s, when the drug game kicked in strong, now you got women the homes are really broken because now the women probably not involved or around like how they were before, being the drug usage or being that they in the streets or in the clubs or what have you.
Yeah.
But now as time goes on, as time progresses, women are becoming more aggressive. If you notice now, women are real aggressive, man. Women really are aggressive, really like
For a
and the
long
men
time.
deal with it. I mean, I'm telling you, the testosterone
No,
game is
it's
yo,
another
I
level.
don't know if it's behind the food, how they shooting these animals up with all of this
It covers the
steroids.
whole. It could be the whole gamut, break.
Because you know the steroid really makes
Plays
you
a major
angry.
part.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, what you eat.
Yeah, testosterone and
Estrogen,
and all that
androgen,
stuff. Yeah,
all of that.
So now the men is tapping into their estrogen. Now they becoming sensitive. Now they, you know, instead of them focusing on girls, man, they on this stuff where they focusing on their homeboys all the time. And you know what I mean? Like they're not focusing on their kids. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. Word up.
No, it's not laughable, but it's ridiculous.
No, it's funny.
You know
It's
what I'm
funnier than a motherfucker. Because
funny,
these
it's
dudes
funny,
really
sad.
got funny style.
No, they funny for real.
These dudes whack as fuck. Like
I
they
know.
really, these dudes that really would sit there and get fly and go to the club, right? But ask them about how their kids, like day in school was, what their kids' teachers' names are, or you know what I mean, when the last time they've been to a PTA meeting,
Yeah.
or what have you. They ain't been nowhere. They don't know nothing, doctor's name, they don't know any of that stuff. So
They don't
women
sit
be wounded behind a lot of stuff, by a lot of aggression, by a lot of pain, like all of that stuff. Women compile that shit into their system, and it becomes real.
Yo,
And a lot of times, but women are strong. Women are more stronger than men give them credit for.
you know
And
that.
this ain't for me to be sitting up there stroking no woman's ego because you got some women that ain't shit. Straight the fuck up. And I'm looking right into this camera and I'm talking to you. You know, y'all know who y'all are. Y'all really ain't shit. Y'all don't put in the time and the effort that y'all need to for y'all children. Just because you bringing them out to eat and bringing them to the best lobster joints in the world and feeding them, you know, outside the house meals and all of that and buying them clothes, that don't mean nothing to them mentally because everything begins with a thought. And if they can't think, they fucked in the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Word is born. So,
Hey, yo,
you know.
but listen, at the same time, because you think, you know, the woman want child support for your kids and you going to court, you paying that, they taking shit out your check and things of that nature, and you straight, you think you straight, you don't have to do it. Yo, I can, no, listen, man, phone calls are
Yo,
everything,
and-
man. You know what I'm saying? Call your children, man.
and-
Damn, yo, you do that a lot. You don't got to worry about nothing.
Yo,
Because that's all they want. That's all they want. Call your kids, man. God
Kid.
damn, yo.
They get mad. They get mad because they get on child support.
Yeah, and then they think
Yo,
that's
then it ain't even
then that
paying.
can be reason.
Then you're not paying as much as you probably
Anyway.
would pay anyway. Now you just gotta pay it on time. You know what I mean? So
You gotta
like
be-
you can put it
so
off
you
for
won't be
2 weeks,
delinquent.
3 weeks, and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how
Yo.
dudes really don't understand their contribution to wounded women.
And that's a
You know
part
what I
of being wounded. You're financially,
Right.
emotionally, physically, mentally. But
Right.
yo, man, listen, man, that's all they really want, son. You make them become wounded and scarred when you doing things like that. You think your presence is presence ain't shit. Your presence of being there physically is everything. While you're there, being verbally chastising your children, you don't gonna be in a household with your children, brother.
Word.
I'm a prime example of that.
Word.
You still have that relationship and still make your shit count. To the fact where it counting, you covering the whole gamut.
Word.
You understand? You making the woman carry that burden more by you just disavowing your kids, man. Denying the responsibility. That's your child, whether she was on drugs or not. Like my man said earlier, you chose that. Live with it.
Word.
Love it. Like it. Support it, man.
Word.
You understand? You leaving a woman with all that burden. You know, you giving her all that. She already had it in her. She didn't even know she was wounded already because that goes back to the atavism, like my man said, the genetics. When I say atavism, that's part of the genetics. You know what I'm saying? That goes back to that. She's already wounded. Now you're giving her more to wounded, more to scorning.
Word.
She's already it was already in her anyway. So you made it more easier. You facilitated that
Word.
when you not being around. You know what I'm saying? You the disavow, like I said again.
That availability and that accountability.
You can't get
You know what
into
I'm
that.
saying? Yeah, that's what it is all about. What you want. You know what I mean? There's no compromising once you know you say a man's at the end of the day when a woman get pregnant, it's her choice to keep it or to abort it. But it's your choice to slide up in a raw or not. So now you make that choice. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So when you make the choices, remember, anything can happen. Like, love, and subscribe. and share. Campfire Talk, the
We get that
podcast.
thought for the day,
All
man.
day.
It ain't
You know what I'm
over
saying?
yet.
It ain't over yet.
No,
but
we
I'm
just
saying,
had to put that in. We
yeah,
had to
it's
slide that
all
one in. You know how you got to slip some things in, like you
But
slip
dudes, hold up. Then on top of that, kick,
Hey,
you
yo.
got dudes that be scared to make like a leap of faith. Like to change their
The
environment,
transformation,
change
yeah,
their
they
lives,
ain't even gotta
and
go
stuff
nowhere.
like that. You know what I
Yo,
mean?
I
But
change-
dudes be scared.
I know they be scared to take that
stand
next
on their
step,
own.
but that lets you know about how they were. There you go again. When the smoke clears,
Right.
you'll see who's really who.
Right.
Guys been insulated through other people that they have been around for a long time,
Yeah.
so you'll see who the
Right.
guys are. You know
Right.
how like you might have. No, I don't mean to veer off though.
No,
But it's
it's wrong
pertaining
because
to
it's
all
all
of this.
relative.
Because you know how you might see, guys that the women. Let's go to the women too.
Right.
You like my man way back then. You even got all the kids by him because he was around guys that you seen him around, but you didn't know he wasn't. He was an underling really.
Right.
But he's been so insulated through that crew that you say, I'm gonna get this one right here because he down here.
Right.
But now when the smoke clear, guess what? That leap of faith break we're talking about. That's that same guy you got pregnant by. That you got 5 by now.
Right.
You didn't even know he was a sucker back then. Now you got kids by him. Now you're a wounded. That's your fault
Or
because you're dealing with the outer links.
yeah, the choice that you made.
I ain't blaming you, but that's
No, that's the choices that they made. Sometimes
you're reprehensible for that.
Word.
You left your self wounded in that
Word.
and scarred.
Yeah.
Huh. You look past me.
Yeah, but but that's real spill though. Like a lot of times, women pick was like popular. You know what I'm saying? But
And the guys were there around.
The popularity means a lot. I mean, that's almost like second nature. People, you're gonna pick the thing that looks the best, the shiniest thing.
The
You know
most
what I'm
sought
saying?
after woman, they might go after the most sought ass, most sought
Don't
girl
even
in
know
high
it,
school
yeah.
and enjoy. Man, I don't shop with
You know how many times? I mean, you can name off a slew of names of dudes that was the shit back in the '80s, but now they running around there, drunk, alcohol.
Not even that. They just running around there still
just
trying to
some
be,
bum-ass
still
shit.
trying to live off their past,
Right, yeah,
trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Right,
They might have to still
right.
move cars and good things looking like that, but that's just facade though.
Right.
They gotta wear that mask away forever.
Sometimes
I ain't never had to wear no mask.
Sometimes you just be a shell of yourself, man. Sometimes you gotta make that leap of faith and make a change and make it happen. Stop being scared to make a better change for a better you. You know what I mean? Like people really don't know how to move and do things right for the better you, for the betterment of everyone, for your kids, for everybody. You know what I mean? And that leaves women wounded because now they got to carry that load. That's a hell of a load to carry for millenniums, man.
Eons.
Man, I'm telling you. That means that, I'm glad that I talked to Larry Jenkins behind this.
Man, Larry,
So that was a great conversation, my brother. I appreciate you for that. That was dope. You know what I mean?
Dope,
You know I'm
man.
gonna hit you up
Dope,
soon
man.
this week anyway. So
Tell myself what I thought,
yeah,
peace.
you already know.
You know what I mean? But yeah, yo, for real, man, wounded women, battle scars, all that, man. Yo, bring that, we brought this to your attention. Dig into that, how y'all feeling, man, you know what I'm saying? And don't let that harbor inside of you because that's probably what be burdening y'all. Y'all don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Don't abuse the children because he's looking like daddy over here or your father over there.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta get out of that. Now that we tap into this, learn that shit. Learn yourself. Like I always say, learn yourself. Now you got something to figure out now. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Now you can be like, oh, that's what I've been doing. Because you're gonna after this conversation we just had with y'all, especially the women and guys, now you know what it's been. I know you probably been trying to figure it out.
Word.
Now we gave it to you raw butt naked.
Look, man, there ain't nothing wrong with people going to find a chair or a couch to sit on or to lay on and have a conference with somebody to let things out. It's not a problem to do that. We need to. There's a lot of things that's built up inside of people right now that they hold for a long time and things that's been passed on. There's things that's been passed on for many generations that you don't even realize what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
For real, yo.
Yeah.
For real, man. I talk about stuff. I ain't got a problem with that. I don't talk to anybody about it. But if I do talk to you about it and I gave you something, I wanted to give you that.
Word.
If I did talk to you and share some things.
Listen.
I ain't got a problem though.
To all you women out there that's doing the best y'all can. Now, I'm talking about the women that's doing the best y'all can. I don't want the women that ain't doing shit that's corny as hell, that's fake, that's thinking about themselves first. I don't want y'all to be throwing up no thumbs and, oh yeah, and all this and that. No, you don't get no props. I want the ones that do their best, that bend over backwards to know that dudes do really appreciate y'all. And we want to give y'all roses early and every day. You know what I mean? Like, salute to y'all, man, because it's tough. And I'm coming from a broken home, and I know what my mother been through, and you know the things that my mother had to go through.
Yes.
You know what I mean, with her kids and your mom and everybody else mom. You know what I mean, Shorty mom and everybody mom that homes that's been broken. You know what I mean? My man, Larry Jenkins, mom. You know what I mean? Homes been broken. Like I know the. You know what I mean? The pain, man. Women went through a lot.
No matter how good it look on the outside for certain homes that we came from, and some homes look like it was fucked up. Right. My home probably didn't look like it was effed up, but it was. Just because it didn't look like it, and yours looked like more than mine. Man, we was all in the same pot, brother. Trust me, it was ugly.
It just so happened you just probably tucked in your shirt every day. You know what I mean?
My mother sit my kids up, right my schnots off my nose before I
made you right.
My snot still came down, though, when I got.
Yeah, put that Vaseline on your face and
trust me, it was ugly. But guess what? There was more good times.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to give, you know, like I said, give my man Larry J a shout out for this conversation. This to me was dope. You know, this is probably one of the better ones that we had thus far for me. And you know, to everybody out there that's trying to do better, wounded women, battered women, scorned women, and dudes that's trying to get on the right foot, man, salute to y'all, man. Keep pushing, don't stop. Keep the movement going. And, you know, for me, these are my last words for this podcast today. You know, my saying, we shoot for the universe and the galaxies. We let the suckers shoot for the stoplights because that's as far as they're going to go. They never been nowhere before, believe me. They never been nowhere, you can tell. Ask them where have they been. They can't tell you nothing. They can't tell you when the last time they went to
around the corner back again.
Their own cookout. They probably went to somebody else's cookout, but not theirs. You know what I mean?
How it went break?
Straight up, huh?
Around the corner, where have you been? Around the corner and back again.
So my money got money. Y'all remember that?
That goes back to what you said about the guys. Cats. You know
that's real.
Hey, yo, you got a thought for that today.
So get to it.
No, I ain't ready for. We ain't done here yet. So we still stomping grounds about the wounded women. I love y'all though. But don't let that wounded stuff in that battle burden y'all. Don't miss on the opportunity. You might come across a good man. I ain't saying not a boy, a good man. You know what I mean? Take your time with walk on eggshells before. If you like this guy, not because of physical attractions, but because of other things that you see him that he has, that's a quality. Yeah, I ain't saying give him a shot, but just take your time. You know what I mean? You ain't gotta just jump right into it and then be like, I don't want him no more. You want it yourself when you do things like that because you be like, yo, I've been doing this. You aggressive as a man. You're not a man. Okay?
Yeah, you're not. Women, let's be clear.
Cut that bull
the
crap
women that you sitting up there being all aggressive and dealing with this testosterone and shit like that, 100, 300 years from now when they dig your bones up, when they do that DNA tracing back, you're going to be a fucking woman. You know what I mean? So be who you are. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, you know, your preference and your, you know, what you like and all that, but I'm just saying, just be the woman that you're supposed to be for the kids that you have. And stop being so hard on dudes all the time. Give dudes a little bit of leverage, man, a little bit of leeway, because some dudes do really be trying to tap in. And we know that some of y'all women be giving them a hard time behind the pain and the suffering that you probably endured with them. But don't let the kids suffer, because at the end of every relationship, the kids will always suffer.
You have to evaluate. Learn how to evaluate. You know what I'm saying? Study human nature. Don't judge. There's a difference between that. Start studying human nature more. You know what I'm saying? You're a human, so you have that ability in you. It's innate. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, thought for the day, okay? Check me out, though. Things turn out best for the people who make the best the way things turn out. You heard that?
Say it again, baby. Say it again.
Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. Ain't no more to it. Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out.
Word up.
You understand?
Campfire Talk, the podcast, every Tuesdays at 7 p.m.
7 p.m. And that's
7 p.m.
June 7th.
Be there or be square, but I know most of y'all are squares anyway, so you probably won't be there. But you know what we do at the end of the day? We throw these up, knowledge together.
Integration.
That means
Black
peace.
Nation.
Peace.
Peace.